So if you're not familiar with our certificate program, Business Analysis, this program is a great fit for anyone who's interested in moving into a business analysis position or who wants to better understand biz analysis skills to further advance their career. Whether it's your standalone area of expertise or it's in conjunction with a project management specialty, these skills really do make you a competitive job seeker, which is something that we'll talk about more today. Students in this program learn best practices, strategies, and techniques from our instructors who bring years of real-world experience into the classroom. So if you'd like to learn more about this program or our courses, you can visit our website, extension.berkeley.edu, or email us at extension-business@berkeley.edu. Finally, I'd just like to take a moment to acknowledge everyone who made this event possible today. So to my colleagues at Extension, to our wonderful student alumni, and to the folks representing Apex and IIBA, just a big, huge thank you to you all. I know that our speakers have a lot of great insights and information to share with us today. So I won't take up any more time, and I will go ahead and pass it over to our wonderful moderator, Jay Ashford.
Great. Thank you so much, Emily. It is my pleasure and privilege to be moderating our panel discussion this afternoon. So as you can see here, we have a wonderful panel assembled for today's discussion. We have two representatives from the International Institute of Business Analysis, or IIBA. We also have two alums from the UC Extension Business Analysis Certificate Program, and lastly, a senior recruiter from Apex Systems with many years of experience. I will let them introduce themselves as they jump into the conversation. So without further ado, let's go ahead. We have three main sections here: employment, education, and community engagement. But before we get into the meat of the discussion, I think it would be wise to first stop and ask exactly what is business analysis.
Hey, Jay, I think I'm going to take this one. As you know, my name is Kellen Jasierski, and I work with IIBA. In my role, I help our academic members deliver high-in-demand business analysis courses and increase graduate employability. So being the nonprofit trade association for business analysis, we are known for many things. And one of the things we're most known for is the BA BOK, the BA Body of Knowledge, that clearly defines business analysis as the practice of enabling change within an enterprise. And we do that by defining needs and recommending solutions that deliver value to our stakeholders. We're going to talk a lot more about that today, but that is the official definition. Back to you, Jay.
Okay, let's dive into the first section of our discussion today around employment. First, I'd like to throw out a question to our panelists. What trends are you currently seeing in the profession?
Hey, Jay, I can go ahead and take that one. Just for all of you, my name is Becky Lameda. I work as a senior recruiter for Apex Systems, specifically supporting the San Francisco Bay Area. I was actually able to pull some data from a system called Talent Neuron that has a lot of data for nationally and then also here in the San Francisco Bay Area, but then also a lot from my experience also recruiting here in the San Francisco Bay Area as well. And what I found is that the demand for business analysts is extremely high here in the Bay Area. Unfortunately, the supply of business analysts is low. And in addition to the low volume of business analysts here in the Bay Area, because the business analyst skill set has proven to be extremely beneficial for other jobs and qualifications, different positions, I'm finding that many qualified BAs that I'm trying to work with, they're actually using this skill set to get into several different opportunities and career paths like product owner, product management, maybe even data analyst work. And so this is really thinning out the talent pool. So really the biggest trend here is that it is a candidate market right now.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts, IIBA?
Absolutely. We are also seeing that on our end, Becky, right? A lot of demand out there, not only for those positions as business analysis professionals, but also we're seeing BAs play critical roles in several different teams throughout organizations. What comes to mind would be agile analysis. We're often seeing BAs playing PO and proxy PO roles For product ownership analysis, we're seeing BAs play roles. We're also seeing BAs play critical roles, helping to deliver data initiative and cybersecurity. So not just core traditional business analysis roles, but throughout the organizations.
So next question, how do you break into business analysis, and what are the possible career paths that you can pursue? Any insights from our UCB alums?
Yeah, so the way I broke into it really was I began, in our call center, a long time ago, and I learned the business, from customer service and became a QA analyst. I kind of went backwards. I learned the business and then learned the technology. So, I think that breaking into it, sometimes you take a look around and you realize there's more to where I'm at right now. And, maybe, start to think about how you can utilize, other opportunities even within your own space. That's kind of how I started.
Great, thank you. Stephen, anything you want to add to that?
Yes. Hello, I'm Steve Harris. I work for the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. I'm Director of IT for the Division of Professional Studies. So similar to what Heather shared, I think I started out with IT. In undergrad, I did my curriculum in IT and got my degree there. And getting into different level jobs of also being on like a help desk and also being like a database administrator in different roles. It became more apparent when I started like leading initiatives, projects, and that I needed a tool set. I needed something to help with figuring out what people want and getting out of them that information and leading that to a solution for folks. So it became more apparent as my career went on that I needed a BA skill set there.
Yeah, and I'd like to jump in there too. I've seen very similar backgrounds to what Stephen and Heather just mentioned. And there are a few ways that I've seen candidates really get into the BA career path. And just like Stephen, they started out in a technical field, but maybe they were asked to take on some of those business analyst responsibilities, really kind of shifting their career path into more of a business analyst. I've also seen this even more on the functional or the business side as well. Maybe I've seen folks that started out in HR, maybe business operations, and they were asked to start documenting processes and so forth, really, turning their career more towards that business analyst profile and getting more into that career path. And finally, I've also seen folks jump right into different business analyst internships or maybe even entry-level business analyst roles directly out of college or these training programs. So there really are a lot of different ways folks can get into this career path.
So next question, and this would go to you, Becky. What is the current outlook that you're seeing? I think you're primarily focused on Northern California and the Bay Area, perhaps, and specifically.
Yeah.
Any trends either within the Bay Area or perhaps nationally that you'd like to share?
Yeah, right now, especially in the Northern California area and even in nationally, the entire US, it really is a candidate market out there for business analysis. Like I mentioned before, the demand for business analysis is extremely high, and it doesn't matter if it's strictly a business analyst, but it could be just different positions requiring that skill set. And just the number of openings out there is extremely high in comparison to the amount of candidates that are on the market. And this especially for the Bay Area, and I know the Bay Area is already high, so the salaries and so forth that I'm seeing they may be higher than the national average. But as far as some of the salaries that I'm seeing for folks, it can really range anywhere from, $115,000 to about $175,000 for experienced business analysts. This, of course, varies depending on the employer, what they're looking for. For example, there may be a business analyst position where they're looking for that core BA, but there may be a very niche technical requirement with that really driving up the price. Additionally, for the folks here in the San Francisco Bay Area, Northern California, there are so many big tech established companies and a ton of startup companies that are all competing for the same candidate. And so again, this is really driving up the salaries in the area as well. And then finally, of course, education and certifications can also drive up the requirement and the salaries as well, if that's going to be a requirement for the candidates. And then finally, not only is there these full-time positions that are out there, I also want to make sure folks know that there's also contract and contract to hire positions out there as well. And this is always a great option for folks that want to change industries and maybe don't know how to do that. Or maybe it's their first job in the business analyst field. But the reason I want to go through that is because those are hourly rates, and that may be a little different than the salaries, but that ranges from 50 to 80 as well, 50 to 80 per hour, depending on their experience and qualifications and so forth.
Great. Are you seeing any trends with regard to full-time versus contract in recent years?
I mean, I would say it's definitely since things have started quieting down with COVID, especially after the first of the year, I've started seeing a few more full-time positions than I normally would have. There are always, I would say, probably, out of 10 positions that I'm seeing, I would usually see eight of 10 of those are contract versus full-time. But now it's starting to be more evened out.
Interesting. Okay.
Becky, Jay, I'm going to go ahead and step in here as well.
Sure.
I couldn't agree more with what Becky said. I also work a lot with our corporate leader members and the BA leaders I'm speaking to. What they say often is, I can't interview fast enough. I can't hire fast enough. So demand has truly skyrocketed, right? In 2020, I think Business Analysis moved 10 spots to LinkedIn's highest in demand skill that companies are hiring for. So that in itself was an indicator, right? In the beginning of 2020, and it's just picked up since then. The slide that we're seeing here, and this is actually from my IBA's 2021 Global State of Business Analysis report. We go out to the global community and we survey members and non-members alike to understand what's going on in our profession. And so much like Becky's numbers, you can see that the salaries are favorable. While Becky shared with us regional numbers, this is for the US. What I want to also highlight here is, not everybody has the business analyst title, right? We're seeing there's so many titles that are associated with the profession. And certainly those who are certified, we see are earning higher. And top reasons for them certifying is actually confidence in performance, right? Not just getting paid more, but also our members say, this is who I am, this is what I do, and this is how I demonstrate my skills as a professional, right?
So for folks who are looking for work in this field, maybe we'll start with you, Becky. Do you have any tips on how you can network, how you can present your LinkedIn profile, what you would want to highlight or emphasize on your resume?
Yeah, absolutely. So give me one moment. So as far as networking goes, I would say, of course, first start with your LinkedIn profile. You're not only competing against people right now that are local, but it's going to be on a national level since there are so many remote opportunities out there. So it's so important to really ensure that your LinkedIn profile stands out. Make sure you have that summary. Make sure you have detail within each of your positions. Make sure to join different groups that you're interested in, industries that you're interested in, maybe follow different companies. Connect with as many friends, recruiters, people, coworkers that you can, just to really make sure people know you're out there and know you're looking. And then as far as, continuing to network, join those local groups too. Join those alumni groups, those technology groups, different meetup groups that are out there. And do not be afraid to get out of your comfort zone on these. Not only professionally, of course, but even in your personal life. You don't be afraid to go out and introduce yourself to someone that may be out there. You never know when they are going to be the connection that can further you in your career. And then also around networking and just making sure you're setting yourself up for the future, find a mentor. I mean, if you find someone that is in a position that you want in the future, or maybe you just really admire their success, establishing them as a mentor, maybe you, that person and one other person can really help you learn and grow. And they can also be someone that you can lean on, both professionally and personally.
Great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Great advice. What are some things as you are placing candidates as BAs? What do you have any particular tips on interviewing or things that you might hear back from hiring managers?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the common feedback that I get from hiring managers is that sometimes candidates tend to speak in generalities, meaning they are talking about what their group did in their previous positions or their current positions. And really what they want to hear is what you did. What accomplishments did you make? What were your responsibilities? What were your deliverables? So, you really have to walk that fine line between being too arrogant and humble. So that's always something that I hear a lot. Another thing that I tend to hear is, folks are not always being concise, and it could be nerves, of course. A hiring manager will ask you a question, and instead of answering that question directly, folks may go off on a tangent. So it's so important to just have some specific examples ready. So that way you can be clear and concise in that interview. And another thing is make sure to research both the company and the position before walking into that interview. I don't know how many times a hiring manager will ask right away, very first question, why are you interested in this company? Why are you interested in this position? And if you did not do your research, you could be setting yourself up for a terrible interview going forward.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What about working with a recruiting firm such as Apex? What can candidates do to sort of maximize the value out of that relationship?
Absolutely. And thank you for asking this question. I know sometimes it can be hard or intimidating to work with recruiters, but the biggest thing is, when you're working with them, make sure to really communicate with the recruiter. Why are you on the job market? Why are you looking for a new position? What are your motivators? This will only help us present opportunities to you that you are going to be interested in. And then also a lot of the positions that we're working on, and I know Kellen mentioned this, positions are moving so quickly right now. So ensuring that the line of communication between the recruiter and yourself is open, whether, say, hey, if you can't get a hold of me on this phone call or text me. So that way we can get things lined up as quickly as possible. And quite frankly, that also, helps us know that, yes, this is a position that you're interested in.
To the education section of our discussion today. So I think you touched on this a little bit earlier, but maybe Stephen, we'll start with you. What did you study in undergrad, and how did you transition into a business analysis role?
Hey, thanks, Jay. So undergrad, I got a degree in business information systems, and it was a well-rounded program where it taught you different pieces around IT, as far as, of course, like word processing, spreadsheets, and things of that nature. But then getting into networking, learning how to run networks and how to configure like domains, and also got into programming and also into operating systems. So that gave me a good fit where I started off my career in different positions of supporting products that like software companies, like startup companies, the software products that they made. And then I moved into like a help desk for like a site. Then I moved into being like an application engineer. I got into a lot of different things like we take for granted now, video teleconferencing. I was doing that years ago. And so I got into a lot of different technical fields, and that way I could touch on a lot of different things. So that's where it started from. So I still use all of those skills, and I fuse that with business analysis and project management, and to help and kind of navigate solutions and things of that nature. So.
Great, thank you for that. Heather, any you want to share your story or your path to business analysis?
Yeah, so really for me, my story is a little bit different there. You know, I graduated high school and I ended up moving, and I ended up actually working at where I work now. Is, you know, back then it was Nature's Bounty. Now it's the Bountiful Company. And I started out, you know, as a customer service rep. I never got the opportunity to actually go to college. I did want to, and I really wanted to go to Berkeley. That's why I live in New York, and I am, you know, everybody else mostly is in California, but, you know, I'm in New York because I always had interest in actually going to Berkeley. So, you know, when I became a QA analyst and I dived into, you know, technical processes and, you know, different applications, Salesforce and things like that. And then, you know, a business analyst opportunity opened up, and, you know, with all of the knowledge that I had, from the business, I kind of jumped into my role. And, you know, this course really gave me the opportunity to get, you know, my certification, yes, but also gave me a little bit of a college experience as well. And I'm very grateful for that. And, you know, I feel like I was able to really grow myself because of this course more, you know, for myself, but also for my daughter that I had. So, that's really how I got where I am. I didn't go to college, but I did attend in this way.
Great, thank you. So question, perhaps I'll start with you, Heather, and then maybe go back to Stephen. In particular, how did this certificate program, or let me step back a bit. At what point in your career did you decide, hey, you know, I'd like to go back and get this education?
Yeah, so when I took the business analyst role, having the knowledge of the business was fantastic. But I realized that I had a gap in my knowledge as far as my role went with processes and, you know, techniques. And, you know, I really wanted to use tools to not only make myself great for our business, but also, you know, learning business, you know, analysis is way more than just, you know, your core, right? So, you know, we're learning workflows and all of that. So what I did was I really utilized those tools now to broaden my background and to broaden how I currently function, you know, using, you know, RACI matrix and, you know, all of these different things, gap analysis, you know, and, you know, that's really how I've been implementing that into my current career.
Great, thank you. Stephen, any insights from you on well, specifically when you decided to go back and pursue this certificate program and how it's affected your career trajectory?
Yes. So I think for me, and it was around, I guess maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. I was heavy into, I wouldn't say heavy, but I was really largely into like project management. I went and got my PMP certification, and because I was leading a lot of initiatives, and I wanted to feel better and more confident about, you know, going through the right steps and doing projects. And I will say that the BA, it was something to help me propel my career. Within the organization that I'm in, my division, I have to wear a lot of hats, like so many other people, and I found out that I needed a way to be able to cut through the ambiguity and figure out what people wanted and how to get solutions and brought to people. And I think with the BA program, it helped me to learn different skills as far as propping up my presentation skills. Definitely helping me with how to figure out how to do elicitation better, how to get things out of people, even giving me the confidence to use different tools. I'm really liking this tool called Mural, Mural. It's like a interactive like whiteboard, and using that within virtual meetings to get information and ideas down and give people a different way to look at things and to focus on things. So it's crucial. It was crucial, and I wanted to be able to have that tool set to help me out with that. So that's when I realized that.
That's great. Thank you. Next question. What is the benefit, would you say, for both the employer and the employee when an employer, for example, hires somebody who can, speak the industry jargon or use that common framework of language, of terminology, of ideas, and so forth? Shall we start with Stephen? Can we start with you, and maybe we'll go back to Heather and IIBA's thoughts and Apex as well.
Sure. I think that it gives like the person hiring some comfort and relief that you don't have to train that person in that area that you're hiring for. And with that lends itself the opportunity where a person can start to understand the institution, like learn some more of the institutional knowledge, and also something that is really like high in project management and business analysis roles is that you have to make relationships with people. So you can spend that time making relationships and understanding the organization, and then you can start applying your what you've already learned. So I think that puts you ahead, and I think that just propels the organization ahead if you already have those skills in place.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Heather, any perspective you'd like to share on that, on sort of the
I really think that as opposed to how I really became where I am today, I think that if I was hired and I had those skills, I think that it might have been, it's an easier transition that way, where you're going in and you're learning more about what your business is, and you have the tools to back that up. And, if you already have these BA skills, you're able to go in and start breaking things down. A business is a business, right? You can make any requirement into something if you have the tools to do that. So I think that that's very important.
Great. Thank you. Folks from IIBA, any thoughts or perspectives on this, on the importance of common
Kellen, mind if I jump in?
Go for it, Mafaro. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Mafaro Neoshoto, the president of the IIBA Bay Area chapter. And I think a common terminology allows you to describe your work in a common shared manner, which makes for a better team. I think it also makes it easier for you, regardless of industry, to say, hi, this is what I do, and find other people who you can connect with.
I love that, Mafaro. Absolutely. And to add to that, if I'm the hiring manager, right, I want to ensure consistency on how we're providing that business analysis service to our internal or external customers. So when I hire someone who speaks that common language, then I know, for example, Steve has a common approach that I have to elicitation, right? So he can hit the ground running, he's transferable, and it's just a win-win for everyone.
Great. Thank you. Becky, any insights from the trenches you'd want to share?
I mean, just really reiterating what everyone was saying. I mean, employers like to hire some folks that, yes, speak the language and that education is going to help. But also, it really comes down to sometimes some of your hands-on experience and being able to really articulate that and show them how that is going to be transferable to the position that they're looking for. So always keeping that in mind.
Great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so more tales from the trenches here. Next question. What do you see as common mistakes made by newer or junior business analysts? And Heather, maybe we'll start with you if you'd like to.
Yeah, some mistakes that I think that might happen for some newer BAs might really be, you have this knowledge, now you're going into the world, how am I using it? So, really it's about knowing what processes, what techniques, what workflows that you should be using in whatever it is that you're resolving, whatever your business is. So I think that that's kind of one. It's like, I have all of this. How am I implementing it?
Okay, great. Thank you. Stephen, anything you might want to share from your perspective?
Yes. So I read an article recently about how as BAs, like sometimes we might try to get off rapid firing of questions. Like when someone comes to you with they need a problem solved, you quickly just start peppering with questions. And while you have to get those questions answered, that's not always the best approach. You're looking out, in my opinion, you're looking out for yourself as far as like, questions like, well, who needs to be involved? What's your due date? Things like that. Those things can be answered, but you want to spend time getting to the crux of why they're coming to you with this issue or this problem, and what was the impetus for them wanting to do this. Like, it was funny. I had a impromptu conversation yesterday in the parking lot walking out from work with one of my colleagues, and I started down a path of, they were telling me about this issue, and I started down a path of, I started solutionizing. I was like, well, you could use Salesforce for this, and then I stopped myself. And then I had the conversation about like, why, well, what are you looking for? And pretty much what I did, I postured and I left my colleague with questions in his mind of, what is he trying to do? What is he looking for? Forget about, technology and things like that. So I think digging deeper and trying to find the why and getting those soft things out, I think instead of just peppering the checklist that we have, because there are some things in training we need to know, we know that we need to ask those questions.
Thank you. That's a great point, and I'll just follow on to that with a question. What has been your experience when you are working with stakeholders and eliciting requirements from them regarding what they say they want versus what you may end up discovering what they actually truly need, or what's best for the department or the division or the organization?
I would say there's going to be some commonality in those two things. Mm-hmm. But it can be drastically different. Earlier in my career, I used to hear what people said, and I would take for word of mouth what they said they wanted. Then I would deliver that, and that's not what they wanted. So it depends, and I think it takes different iterations to kind of sound check and test what they're telling you. You get the information from them, you regurgitate it back, they kind of give you a spin on it, you come back with a remix on it, and you kind of go back and forth until both sides are feeling comfortable on it. That's my take.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of that, sometimes the business doesn't actually know what the solution is. They really should, we should be helping them figure that resolution. What is your business case, and what are you trying to resolve for here? And I know that I have come across it on multiple occasions, where I'll have a stakeholder come to me and say, I want to do this and we should do it like this. and just like Stephen, I would go and be like, okay, yeah, okay. And that's kind of where we take our tools into consideration, right? Does this actually make sense? Let me see if there's a better, easier way. I think that sometimes the resolution, the business tries to handle that and think of that. And the why is so important. It's so important.
For sure. For sure. Curious, and Heather, maybe I'll start with you. How often do you find yourself bringing groups of stakeholders together who maybe hadn't previously coordinated, when there's a change initiative coming up?
So this happens pretty often in our group. Sometimes we have multiple stakeholders, different ends of, we have digital marketing, we have, mail marketing, and, customer service. So, sometimes your product manager might not know what the call center manager is looking for. And I feel like sometimes it really is about bringing those stakeholders together, and it's really something that happens, pretty often, especially if you're working in a bigger business. And pulling everyone together is so important, because at the end of the day, you can have one stakeholder saying one thing and one saying the other, and no one is aligned. So, I can't tell you how many meetings that I've created where I'm like, everybody come in, we're gonna work on this. And I hate having too many meetings, but part of it is we all need to be on the same page, and making sure that everyone is so important.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Stephen, any additional thoughts or color you might want to add onto that?
Yes, I agree with Heather and the whole meeting part. Like, you don't want to be seen as the person that is always calling meetings, because you don't like to go to meetings that you don't have to. But Heather is right. You have to bring the people that are needed to the table to talk about these things, and so that you can etch it out and kind of go from there. So yeah, that's all I got for that.
Okay, thank you. Any other thoughts or perspectives from IIBA or Apex, sort of on the learning path of newer business analysts? Okay.
Well, I'll take a quick shot at that, Jay.
Sure.
I think we have to teach them that they're not order takers, and that their soft skills are really important, because they have to really engage with people as change agents. They really have to work with people, and people, of course, are both challenging, but they are what change is about. So that's probably the most important thing, I think, to look for, and, know your power.
Yeah, good point. Thank you.
Jay, I do have a thought as well, that comes up in my conversations often is know your power and know your role, right? Because oftentimes I speak to BA leaders who say that entry-level BAs, that they have difficulties knowing like where their role starts and ends, right? So that's very important, so that you can lead and really add value.
Yeah, great points. Thank you.
And one more thing, just to add on to that, as people were talking here, I think a big thing for folks, especially getting into business analysis work or been there for a while, is remember everyone's going to make mistakes. But the way you learn and grow from those mistakes is going to show, the next employer, your current manager, hey, he's ready for the next step in their career. So just remember to always take note of some of those challenges that you faced. How did you get through those? And what could you have done differently, so you can learn and grow from that?
Yeah. All good points. Thank you. Next question, and I might direct this back to Heather and Stephen. From the Berkeley Extension Certificate Program, was there a particular class or project or case study that really stood out for you, or was sort of, light bulb moment, or perhaps even a career changer?
So it's funny that you asked that, because when I was first asked to be on the panel, I thought, because I had taken this these courses. I finished in 2021. And, I had to go back and think, and, there was a few cases that we did with Harvard Business Reviews, certain cases and studies that we did. And I really liked certain Voluntary, the resorts. This one really stuck with me, really, because I work in IT. It's not, okay, we're going to create a loyalty program. How do we do this? With this, it was, what region are we going to, go for? Where are we building this resort? What is the theme going to be? And it really made me realize and open my eyes to, I can be a BA, but I don't have to just be a BA for a vitamin company. I can take this tool and I can use it for, a resort and break out requirements and, all of that based, off of, again, I say, requirements are requirements, you know what I mean? Using, certain techniques and finding out what's the best resolution for things. And it really stuck with me because it's not something that I did every day. And it was nice to realize that, I am more than just where I'm at right now.
Interesting. Yeah. Stephen, any thoughts?
Yes, and I remember that article, Heather. I remember that. That was a good one there. I go back to, there was a article or a case study about this guy named Paul Levy, and he was a CEO of he got into a role of being CEO of one of the hospitals in Boston, and the hospital was in trouble as far as financial, and they're going to be laying people off, and there was just a whole bunch of issues that were around, and there were different like videos that you could watch and kind of things you read as far as what he did in his leadership to kind of turn things around. And that was just so amazing to me, that like he used different things, like transparency was one of his things, and just the different tools and techniques that he used to try to turn the hospital around. And he had like some type of, I don't know if it was like a message board or something, where he had it that folks could put in suggestions, and he read those things and he acted on some of those things. And also he was transparent with, like, there was something going on with, say, like some officer or something, and he wrote in his comments that, I think we need a new such and such in this role. And that went out to like everybody, like it was his. So the different approaches that this person took to try to, turn things around. And as a BA, you got to try different things. Like you don't do the same things twice.
Okay, great. And just one more question around education for Stephen and Heather. If you look at it through a business analysis lens, what's the biggest challenge that you see today in the workplace, or perhaps in the discipline or the industry as a whole?
I'll jump in and say, for me, it's how to keep all of these different skills sharp. Being having a BA role. My role isn't strictly BA. It's I might be working on someone's computer that is damaged, or I might be leading an initiative currently that we're trying to find a new non-credit registration system. So I'm leading that effort too, and I'm getting into some Scrum Master things, and so trying to time splice and make sure that I still keep those things sharp, and I need to dial up when I need to and dial down on certain things when it's not needed, and make sure that I'm still, at an adequate level on all those things.
Great, thank you. Heather, how about for you?
So for me, it's really about using the tools and the processes in an already existing, framework. So, if our IT department was already functioning agile, and, jumping in and trying to use tools with a team that already has a life cycle going, of development and planning and, trying to jump in and try to utilize, all of the tools that we've learned, um, workflows and breakouts and, trying to find where we can make our tools work in an already existing life cycle. So that's one of the challenges that I've come across is, people don't like change. And, sometimes, everybody gets stuck in their rut and, you kind of jump in and you're like, but hold on, just like going back to a business partner or a stakeholder really solutioning, right? So, I think sometimes you fall into a habit of letting that happen where now we're like, hold on, let us have this use case. Let me do my breakdowns, and really that's the biggest challenge that I face is, jumping in and using what I know in a current agile life cycle.
Great, great. Thank you so much for everyone's thoughts on this. So we're going to shift gears to the third and final section of our discussion today, really around community engagement. And the first question I'd like to throw out, perhaps to folks with IIBA, why is it important to get involved with a professional association when you are focused on career development?
Okay, well, I think the most important thing, of course, is you'll find other people who are actually business analysts. You can actually figure out where do your skills line up with other people. You might see some industry trends. You might find some opportunities to network and meet other, you never know where your next job is going to come from. And I actually work as a consultant usually, so I have to be involved with all those organizations. And I think it's just a great way to have an impact on the profession itself.
Great.
Back to you, Kellen.
Oh my goodness. So let me add here. Mafara is actually the president of our Bay Area chapter, and our chapters are just amazing. It's volunteers who are there to give back to the community, and our chapters not only provide engagement opportunity, right? You can go in and say, hey guys, I'm looking for this tool. What are you using in your organization? Or we're facing these challenges, or we're having conversations about going agile. Who can help me with that? But our chapters also, they have study groups. Like if you decide to study for a certification, if you want to fill those knowledge gaps, they have mentorship programs. I mean, it just means you're not alone. Whether you're starting your profession or whether you've been in there for 15 years and you're thinking about what's next, which direction do I go? You have someone that can help you with that.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean, and maybe I'll start with you, Kellen, if you like, to be part of IIBA's community of business analyst professionals?
Oh my goodness, on top of what I just said. So I mentioned, and Jay, you're a part of the Bay Area chapter as well, right? But we're also harmonized. What that means is that our IIBA members could participate in an event in over 120 global chapters, right? Not only is our organization harmonized, but it's a global world. A lot of professionals nowadays are remote. So maybe you do want to network with someone in New York or India or England, and that's available to you. So whether you're working on finding the next job, upskilling, staying relevant, the connection is there for you.
Fantastic. Any additional thoughts on that, Mafara?
Well, I was going to say, when I first got the business analysis role years ago, the first thing I did was look for any organization. You go in Google, and I found IBA because I was trying to figure out what exactly is this. You get dropped into it and you're like, okay. And I've had the opportunity to meet some really great thought leaders. They have wonderful webinars. So I don't think I would have been as successful if I hadn't met other people. Because you go to tell people, I'm a business analyst, and they go, you're a business what? And people still to this day don't really know what that means. So I think it's been really a great support. And there's some really nice people. And as Kellen put it, they're global. You can go meet people in Brussels, in Africa, in Canada, and across the US, and they are doing some really great things.
Awesome. So maybe I'll send this next question your way, Mafaro. What if there's one thing that you could wish that every business analysis professional could know and understand about chapter involvement, what might that be?
I think it's that you can learn a lot. I think we're all kind of in our little silos at times, but getting out there and meeting other people and having an impact on your environment, sort of like if you're in the Bay Area, we do business analysis a certain way. Across the country, they do business analysis a different way. But you can actually engage with us. We're like the local branch of the globals thing, IIBA. You can actually have an impact on how your work is going. You can promote the profession, and we can all get farther faster. So it's kind of really cool if you do that.
Awesome.
Jay, I want to add to that real fast because there was also a question here that was asking about creating opportunities a volunteer can recommend to improve the practical experience and get more confidence, right? So oftentimes you may not have the opportunity where you are today, whether you don't have that position or the opportunity doesn't exist within your organization. And through the chapter and through involvement, that's a great way to create opportunity. Whether you mentor someone or get a mentee, you could facilitate a study group. You could get leadership experience by sitting in the chapters. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity there. And I know practical implementation, there's hackathons, listen, if there's something that you wish that you could be doing in this space that's not available, approach your chapter, and I believe that they will find a way to make it work with you.
Awesome. Thank you. What advice would you have for someone who is considering a career in business analysis? And maybe we'll start with IIBA and go around the panel.
Okay, I'm going to take a shot at it. I think the most important thing is to get some sort of education, take some courses. That'll give you confidence. You'll understand what the different skill sets are, what the different tools are. And I think the next thing would be to network, reach out to other BAs and find out what they're doing, because business analysis is across industries, it's across roles, so you never know where you might fit in, so you might as well find your tribe. And I think just volunteer, get out there, see what there is.
Ellen, anything you want to add?
Mafaro said it very well. And there's also, depending on your organization, do they have a community of practice? Or there's some leaders there? Reach out to them, express that interest, and take courses, find your tribe. I mean, what can I say? Mafaro, you covered it.
Great, thank you. Heather, any thoughts from or advice from your perspective?
Yeah, for me, it's really, your learning is your expertise, is your tool to be successful. And I feel like, never stay stagnant. Never stay stagnant. Keep on learning, keep taking those courses, keep reading those articles. Things change rapidly. And, especially in our world, in the IT world, things, you can change from agile and then, waterfall. And I know I'm using these terms and maybe some might not take the courses and you'll know the differences. But, my advice is to keep learning, keep growing. And, you're not perfect is another one, keep that in mind. Don't expect perfection, but expect the best that you can give.
Great, thank you. Stephen, anything you want to offer?
I echo the other comments that were made, and I would say if you have an interest, this program at UC Berkeley, it was great. It was great to be able to interact with folks from different industries. You're interacting with folks from construction, and myself being from IT, and you can talk this kind of common language about solving problems. And as it has been said, this is transferable. So these same skills that you're using, like if you get an IT business analyst role or whatever, and you're going to use them in your planning your church picnic or something like that. You're going to use them different places. So, or if you're going to be an entrepreneur and start a business, you're going to use something from that skill set. So, yeah, if you have an inkling, go for it. And everything else everybody else said, investigate, talk to people, and make your decision from there.
And just to add to, it's not even just being about, a business analyst. You don't need to just be a business analyst to get the certification. All of these things can be useful in any role that you're really in. Like Stephen said, you're planning a family picnic. It's things that are, you learn and you grow and you can really use anywhere. It's not necessarily just to be a BA. You can really use it, for so many different roles.
Yeah. Universal.
Jay, if I could add to that real fast, I think one of the
Please.
things that we didn't mention earlier is that some organizations are actually challenging everyone within their organizations, and I mean large organizations, to be more analytical, right? To have these business analysis skills, to know how to organize around the problem, think about the solutions, right? That makes sense. So absolutely transferable in every part of the business.
Great, thank you. And Becky, any thoughts that you want to share from working with so many candidates?
Goodness, I really think they covered it. But I mean, I know a lot of folks, are trying to get into business analyst work from several different types of backgrounds. I mean, these skills and the experience that you can gain with this skill set can really take you into so many different directions. And so if you're not sure if you want to take a step into business analysis, it's always worth talking to somebody that has that background and skill set to understand how they used it and what their career path has been looking like. So you can really get a good understanding of, is this going to be a good thing for me to do or not? And I mean, I would highly recommend it for sure.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll follow up with a question perhaps to you, Becky. Are there other groups that you can pursue, affiliate with, if you want to explore further into business analysis?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for folks that may have stepped out of these training programs, there are different communities that you can definitely go and talk to and work with, like Code for San Francisco, San Francisco Tech for Good. There's different meetup groups as well within that technology space. And if you're looking to get hands-on experience because it's not on your resume yet, it's always great to donate your time to these organizations, get that hands-on experience, and show employers that you do have that experience and background that they need and they want. Not in addition, of course, to the great training that you just received. And then in addition, I mean, I think it's always good, to, of course, use these communities to promote your skills and so forth, but it's also good to get out to these communities to talk about your skills. It doesn't just have to be these technical, local communities that I had just mentioned. It could be as simple as going to high schools. It could be going to the community colleges or code camps or the different training programs that you were involved in. Talk to these folks to network, tell them what your career has looked like, how you got into it, and why it could also be something that they may want to think about in the future.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Question, maybe I'll start with the folks at IIBA. What trends are you seeing, as industries are moving away from the sort of waterfall / predictive project or change initiative approaches to a more adaptive or agile approaches? What trends or changes are you seeing with the role of a business analyst in that, with that sort of a backdrop?
So oftentimes my BA leaders that I speak to, right, they come to me and the conversations we often hear is, what is the role in Agile? What is the role in Agile, right? Some organizations have had questions about, is there the need for business analysis in their organizations? And if they go that route, they often come back and say, well, we do need business analysis, right? Just because it's critical. And what we see in our research is, regardless of the methodology used, organizations that are using business analysis to help with business agility are having more success. So what I would say, and it kind of makes me think of what Steve said earlier, you have to understand and keep up with not just the skill, but how the profession is evolving. So definitely important to get in front of those conversations and having the insight, so that when you're in a role and you're discussing, hey, what's the role that business analysis is going to play, whether that is in a data-driven organization or an agile or product-centric organization, then you can say, well, actually, this is how we're going to contribute, right? This is the value that we're going to bring.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind, I just want to add on to that. I mean, from the employer standpoint, I've seen these skills being rolled into other job titles. And I know we mentioned this a little bit before, but I've seen these skills being rolled into maybe a product owner or a product manager taking on these skills instead. So even though they're not called business analysts, and it may be because they're going to that more product centric or that agile environment, they are 100% using these qualifications for these positions.
Becky, that's such a good, yes, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I hear titles, we're having conversations of what is the correct title, right? Is it agile analysis, or is it agile product owner? So a mix of all of this, but definitely business analysis in an agile context. Absolutely.
You can even add that in, sorry to just jump in, but you can even add that into, business relationship management, might not even just be in relation to, everything else. It really could just, you could be a BRM, it's so many different titles. You find yourself being a project manager, needing business analytical skills, and, it's pretty crazy.
Thank you.
Can I just jump in on that last one?
Please.
I think business analysis isn't going anywhere. It's just hiding under different titles. I've had the title of business analyst and other sorts of titles. So I usually call myself a business analysis professional. I'm always going to have the core of business analysis and whatever else I put on top of it, whatever specialty, whether it's project management or process management. So I think that's really important. I think companies sometimes get a little confused when they go, we're going to get rid of all the BAs. They're still there. You're just using them differently.
Yeah, thank you. So quick follow-on question. There has been some discussion around this, and a couple of you just mentioned it just a few minutes ago, around this role of a product manager, product owner, and the traditional role, I might say, of a business analyst. I'm curious, do you see overlap? Do you see separate roles? Any thoughts or comments you'd like to share on that?
I see a lot of overlap. I have employers looking for a combination of product owner, product managers, and others that are looking for, business analysts / product owners. I've also seen the scrum masters / business analysts as well. I mean, I am seeing that things are right now slashes, like I just mentioned, but eventually it's all going, I think they're going to call it just one thing in the end. Like maybe it's just a product owner or a product manager, but the responsibilities are going to be that / experience. So the business analyst / this, business analyst / scrum master. But I think eventually it'll trend towards probably maybe just an exact title, but who knows? It changes every day, all the time, I feel like.
Great.
I think, Jay, if I could jump in on that one, I do have a thought. Yes. So in our research, right, in our benchmark survey, where we look at our corporate members, agile analysis year over year, I think I shared that more than 60% of agile projects were being assigned to BAs. Why? Right? So that's where product ownership analysis came from. So we do have a guide, we have development opportunities around it in a certification, but at the end of the day, it's about bringing those core business analysis skill to this role, right? So as a product owner, then you could also bring the business analysis skill to your knowledge base to add more value. But at the end of the day, there is a bit of an overlap, but it's almost like a natural fit, right? Why are BAs being assigned there? Yeah.
Great. Any final thoughts from other panelists? Okay. This has been a fantastic discussion. Thank you all for your insights and sharing this knowledge and wisdom from the trenches on all this. We have a lot of questions in the Q&A queue here, if you will, and I am going to go through these from top to bottom and first come, first serve, so to speak. So here goes the first one. What does a typical BA career path look like, and what are the differences and skill sets along the way?
I mean, it can be different for everyone. I mean, Stephen and Heather both shared their career path, and it was very different. Both of them, of course, are working, within the technical field, but you don't always have to come from a technical background to go into business analysis. You can be, come from, a business focused background, maybe, like I said, business operations, or maybe you're working within HR and somehow you start doing some of those business analysis responsibilities, or maybe you take a training course and you realize how that can actually help in this position, and it'll eventually roll into that career path. I mean, there are so many different ways to get into business analysis and so many different opportunities, because this skill set, like we've all been saying, it's needed in almost every single position that's out there.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Becky, for stepping up on that one. And I couldn't agree more. It's hard to say what is typical, right? I wanted to share here on the chat, we do have an image that illustrates the evolution of business analysis, and it has business analysis in the core, like in the center. And it just shows all these different areas, whether it's on the business side or on the technology side, right? Just different paths that, again, come from having those core business analysis skills. Yep. And also it sounds like there's a common theme about how to get in, how to start, and how to move up, right? Of course, taking the course, the Berkeley course is aligned with our language. And so when you speak the common language, there is an entry-level course that is purely knowledge-based that kind of helps you to at least know the BABOK and the basic common language, and then go from there, right? You would work on how you're applying the skills and taking it to the next level.
Great, thank you. And thank you for sharing that. Next question. I'm considering both business analysis certification and project management certification right now. Which program would best benefit me? And this person has over 20 years of business administration experience. Anyone care to?
I can jump in, Jay, and
Sure.
try to answer this. I think, I mean, it largely depends on like your interests, and also I would dare to say that what are you going to be most closely doing? Like, will you be doing more business analysis work or project management in your role? Like, is which one is easier for you to, I guess, touch or get upon? Like, if your manager is constantly asking you to lead like certain initiatives, maybe project management is the thing to do. But I will say that if it's a small shop or whatever, and you're the project manager and you're also jumping in and working on the project, you're going to use a lot of business analysis skills to do that. So I think you got to do your research, and you got to kind of look and see what will you more closely align with, and try that way. That would be my suggestion. Research, talk to people. Yeah,
great. Any additional perspectives on that? Nope. Okay. Next attendee was asking, I am interested in data analysis. Would business analysis skills be helpful?
I mean, I can jump in there a little bit and say, yeah, absolutely. You know, there's literally so much that you can do. I mean, obviously, you know, data and business, you know, they're one and the same, right? Your business is utilizing your data. So I would say absolutely there are certain techniques that you could utilize, you know, to, you know, break certain things down and really benefit. You know, I know we've used Power BI and some of our and that's our data, our dashboard with our data, you know, and really, you know, having the breakdown of everything, you know, business related, your products, your, you know, whatever, you know, having the knowledge to be able to create certain workflows and understanding of the breakdown of it all, you know, that's just going to benefit your data analysis altogether. It comes down again to, you know, business analyst is under, you wear so many hats, and you know, it could literally be under any title, but all the tools that you would learn, absolutely. I know that I've done some data analysis on my end, and I have used my own skills, so absolutely.
Great, thank you. Any additional thoughts? Okay, I might just note here, IIBA does have a certification in business data analytics certification and study guide as well for those who are interested. That is a new certification, relatively new, I should say. Next question, top 3 skills that are most in demand. Becky, that might be a question for you.
Goodness, that is a tough one because every employer is very, very different. But I would say most recently, what's currently trending right now is definitely agile experience as a business analyst. And then some of the tools that they're using too. A lot of employers are trying to use some of those modern tools. Jira, the Atlassian suite, so Jira, Confluence are going to be big ones. I would say Visio is still a big one for some of the process mapping and modeling for sure. But it really is going to depend again on the employer. Some employers don't even care what type of tools you have, as long as you have that skills and the adaptability to really, you know, use something different. So I would say adaptability is probably a big skill to have. Mm-hmm.
Excellent point. Yeah. Any additional thoughts from the panel? Okay. Next question. I think we touched upon this earlier, but maybe we can just recap briefly. Is there a voluntary group that you can recommend in order to improve the practical experience and gain more confidence?
Well, I would jump in and say join your IBA chapter, but there are lots of other groups. There are lots of meetups, but for business analysis itself, you know, IBA is pretty much the premier organization that handles business analysis professionals. So look into that in your local chapter. They might have opportunities, hackathons, different things. And then, you know, check meetups. Sometimes you find some really interesting things there.
Next question, does anyone know anyone in the field who has hand dexterity and mobility issues? And if so, what tools might they use to do their work?
Well, I had a former coworker who had hand issues, and she did those, I guess, dragon speaking and different things, and always had her computer set up modified for, I guess they have Microsoft things that are accessibility. So that might be some sort of answer to that.
Yeah, thank you. Other thoughts, or has anyone come across this?
Jay, I haven't, but my first thought would be let's put it out there to the community and see what they say. So we could definitely put it out on the IIBA community, the LinkedIn group. Absolutely. Feel free to reach out to us and let's see if we can find an answer.
Yeah, thank you. I'm seeing some suggestions pop up in the chat window as well. We have one attendee asking to delineate the difference between being a business analyst and project management. Stephen, maybe you've spoken to that a bit already. I don't know if you want to provide a quick summary.
I'll take a stab. One of the things that I guess comes to mind for me around project management, and please bear with me, don't take this as like the holy grail of what I'm saying, but with project managers, you're looking at the schedules and you're making sure that the project is on track and on time. I think more so in the BA role, you're focused on trying to figure out what the customer wants, and also trying to figure out what path to take to bring that to fruition there. And I think, you know, those lines are very, very blurred though, because they can overlap. But I think, you know, one of the things to ask yourself, if something goes wrong with the project, the question is going to go to the project manager, because you're responsible for the whole project being done and the health of it and things of that nature. And the BA, they have a role of trying to figure out what needs to be done and leading people and pulling the right people together to make those things happen. So I don't know if that helps or not, but that's my take on it.
Yeah, and just to add to that too, I have been on projects where I've been the PM and the BA, just the BA. You know, there's definitely a blurred line, like Steven says, but one thing that you should always remember is if you have a PM and you are a BA, you know, your PM should be chasing down, you know, everybody to make sure that all the deadlines are being met, that all of these, that we're going to make the dates, that we're, you know, capturing everything, creating, you know, your meeting minutes, which you might have a BA that, you know, also if you're having a meeting, you're creating your meeting minutes as well. But you want to have a project manager should really be managing everyone in the group, where the BA should be focused on what the task is and how we're going to resolve for it. And sometimes you find that you're kind of doing both there. And, you know, but I will say that, you know, if you have one person doing both, that there could be slip on either side too. You know, you could have a person that's doing a project management and BA, and, you know, some requirements are missing because the BA was focused on, you know, trying to make sure timeline is being met, or vice versa. So, you know, there is it's a blurred line, but if you're in the middle, you should be able to visualize it. I know part of our issue, and even my own, is, you know, right now we're lucky enough to have a Scrum Master and to have a project management team. So, you know, but a few years ago that wasn't the case, and there's an absolute difference in how we function, 100%. So you can tell if you're in that situation usually, but you should be focused if you're the BA on the requirements and the resolution.
Fantastic, thank you. I personally know for a fact, if you go on to Google Images and type in project manager, business analyst, or even project manager, product owner, business analyst, you will find several diagrams out there. They look like either Venn diagrams or sometimes triple Venn diagrams that show the overlap and intersection of these roles, and also which functions and responsibilities are unique to each. So if anyone's curious, there's a lot of good graphics out there on that. Okay, I believe we have time for one final question here. Somebody asked, I want to know how you all manage your time since this role is so expansive and you seem to be always on. Anyone want to take that one?
Like that, always on. I try not to always be on. I can start early in the morning, and if I get into something that's really fascinating and I'm in the flow, I can lose track of time really easily, keep going. So at the end of the day, I try to make sure I actually do have a timer that goes off at the end of the day, and I shut down my computer and try to walk away from it.
I have to say it's a difficult thing, especially if you're working from home. I mean, I've been working from home since March 2020. I'm a mom of two. You know, there's a separation line that becomes very difficult to manage. So I do the same thing where I set the timer and I'm like, okay, I gotta get up, I gotta walk away.
And as I'll add on to timers part, I use a tool called Toggle. And actually, I've stopped using it. This is will be the second week where I'm stopped using it. But I track my time and I try to make sure that whatever I'm getting ready to do, I type it in of what I'm doing. And it helps me to be accountable of what I am actually doing. Like if there's anything you write down, you know that you're doing this step or you're doing that step. And then you can look at that time over the week. Like sometimes I can tell if I'm reading too much email, I'm spending too much time on email, then I'm devoting too much time to that and my projects are slipping. And I can kind of see what percentage I use with email or with administrative things or how much time I spend on projects. So I think going through a iteration of tracking your time and kind of checking that. But over these past 2 weeks, I'm trying to drop some things and kind of try different things. So I'm letting it go and kind of see what happens. So it's a mixture. You just gotta listen to yourself, listen to people around you, your family members and stuff, and that'll help you.
Find your happy medium.
Yep.
Fantastic. I want to thank our panel for their thoughts and their insights they've shared with us today. And I want to thank all of you attendees who submitted really thoughtful and insightful questions as well. We are unfortunately at time, and it is now time to turn this back over to Emily at UC Berkeley.
Hey, yeah, thank you, Jay. Thank you all for attending, and to our friends and colleagues at Extension, at IIBA and APACS. We really appreciate everything that you've put into this event and shared with us. To our guests, I just put a link to a survey in the chat. So if you could fill that out, that feedback really helps us to make sure that this event and all future events are really strong. So we certainly appreciate your feedback. I also included Extension's website and our contact information if you have any other questions. So thank you all. This has been so fantastic.